Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We're over here on the Prepared Mind BC backup channel because I got a strike on one of those little YouTube shorts for doing nothing more than quoting a prediction by a government official. Silly stuff. Hopefully we get that corrected. You never know, though. These people aren't known for their high IQs or their comprehension skills. That being what it is, we'll be here for 2 weeks or maybe less. But for the time being, I really want to bring to your attention the fact that it's almost Thanksgiving. So tomorrow, expect a Thanksgiving special. As usual, every year I like to do my Thanksgiving and Christmas specials. But this particular video, well, it's special too. And it has to do with our rights as Americans, our rights as human beings, and most notably, why you should be prepared, because they're coming after us, folks. They're trying to control us. They're trying to control the words that I use because they're calling them dangerous. Well, they're not dangerous. I'm cautioning you to get prepared mentally, as well as making sure you've got some goodies stored away. You know, if it works for squirrels and gets them through the winter and hard times, I think it ought to work for humans as well. Anyways, the focus of this video is on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment. Young man Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, as you all know, is acquitted of all the murder and all the other charges. And he is down in Florida right now. And apparently he's met with President Trump. Now, President Trump stood by him and said, I watched the films, and looks like it was self-defense, pretty cut and dry. Whereas President Xi Biden sees it the exact opposite way. So how can facts, folks, how can facts be politically interpreted? How can medicine be politically interpreted? Well, folks, everything is politically interpreted now. And we need to understand that when there's a political interpretation for everything, then there's an agenda behind it. And agendas are created to control people and situations, and ultimately history. So we are dealing with a history in the making right now. And folks, in all truth, it's always history in the making. But this is some big history. I think you would have to agree. So we need to really stay focused and understand the control mechanisms that are being put in place. We need to really be fully prepared and understand. And we need to develop our understanding of what our rights are. Because at some point, the courage of your convictions is going to have to come to the front. You know, do you value liberty, or do you value your life? Do you value your life more than liberty? Which is more important? Right? You can be alive and have no liberty, right? You can be alive and have no liberty, and that's called slavery, right? And if you have liberty, not only do you have life, but you have prosperity. So right now, just as a reminder, the alcohol and tobacco firearms has gathered millions of records on lawful gun owners. And how they've done this is businesses that have gone out of business and are probably going to continue to go out of business. Their records are turned over to the ATF for storage. And if you believe that those records aren't being gone through, if those records aren't being collated, if those records aren't being put into a database, broken down into states, broken down into type of firearm purchased, whether it's a handgun, a shotgun, a hunting rifle, or a sporting rifle, you know, the scary kind. Anyways, they have all of these gun records. Now, as you know, let me remind you, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted. The jury found that he was acting in self-defense, that he did everything properly in order to exercise his right. I didn't know that you had to do everything properly to exercise your right. I figured that you could just exercise your rights and you'd be fine. But no, he went through the process of exercising his rights properly in Wisconsin. But he used the ever so scary plastic AR to do so. And the left has lost their minds over this. So I'm sure that these ATF records are going to have a special section for people who have bought AR-10s, AR-15s, any of the AK variants, any of the scary stuff, anything that has a higher than 2-round capacity, right? I mean, we don't want to say that a double-barreled shotgun is a assault weapon, do we? So you can have 2 rounds, yeah, either a single shot or maybe a double barrel, because that is Joe Biden's preferred weapon. You got someone bothering you, you just step out on the front porch, fire a couple of rounds of shotgun, bam. Remember when he said that stuff? Well, the McClotskys stepped out onto their lawn trying to exercise their right to self-defense, and they fired 0 rounds, folks, 0 rounds. And guess what? They still got prosecuted. So I guess you can't even take the president's advice or anything close to it. Unbelievable. But it gets better, folks. But wait, there is more. And you are going to enjoy this. You know, I like to say that humor, you know, jokes, is a satirical way. It is satire. It is sardonic. It is smartastic, sarcastic. And it's a way to convey information that has its points made through the humorous side. Well, we got this guy named Stephen Colbert, and you've probably heard of him. He kind of thinks he's funny. I don't find him to be particularly funny because everything has a political implication and a political interpretation, and I get it. My side does as well. Right? But I think that my way of thinking is actually logical. You know, I use common sense, rational-minded thinking. But Stephen Colbert, he said something. He said something very interesting. He came out and said, if Rittenhouse didn't break the law, then we should change the law. Well, they've been trying to change the law for a very long time. They've been trying to write state laws. They've been trying to enact federal laws. But in all ways, I don't understand how they don't go all the way back to the Second Amendment that says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They just don't seem to get it. Infringe means get anywhere near the edges, right? The fringes of a flag, the fringes of a carpet, right? The political leftists are all over the fringes of our nerves over everything they're pushing. And I think that that Obama learned his lesson. Remember, he took his time with legislation in his first term, and Republicans took over Congress, kind of messed up their little timetable. So they have wasted 0 time. They have wasted no time at all with President Xi Biden, and he's done more to destroy our economy and our rights than any other president. He's signed more executive orders than any other president in his first year. It is unbelievable. They're moving full steam ahead, and here we go. Stephen Colbert saying we should change the law. Well, in order to change a constitutional amendment, this is very important to note, folks. You have to have a supermajority in the House of Representatives and the Congress, Senate. They're not going to get that. Now, I want to bring this up. That is for the federal Constitution. The federal Constitution, folks, literally actually only applies in Washington, D.C., forts, arsenals, dockyards, and other places where the federal government exercises jurisdiction. They don't exercise jurisdiction in the 50 states. That's why the 50 states have their own constitutions. They are individual nations. Remember that and keep that in mind. They have no right to enforce a federal gun law in the 50 states. None at all. Now, they can try and do the interstate commerce thing. They can try. But I tell you what, they don't have any right to exercise any of the laws here in Mississippi. Nope. Now, to change the Constitution in any of the 50 states, the same rules apply. They need a supermajority to change a constitutional protection. The Second Amendment exists in all of the 50 states. The same wording, folks. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And even on the state level, state legislatures try it all the time. New York, they tried it on their 10-round capacity magazines. That got done. Even in the great communist state of California, they have thrown out their AR-15 laws that they tried making them illegal. They have thrown out the high capacity magazine restriction. They found that to be unconstitutional. They said, well, if you're going to outlaw open carry, you must allow concealed carry in California. So what they're finding, folks, is that they can't write laws, even with the radical ding-dong political judges out there. But it's going to come down to this. I'm going to carry this through, and then you're going to see, you're going to get it. Right? Stephen Colbert says that they didn't break the law, so we should change the law. Well, don't we also have a right to peaceably assemble? Don't we also have a right to free speech? Don't we also have a right to do whatever we want? Right? As long as we're not hurting someone else, essentially is the common law. Well, the government has decided that in the name of safety, public safety, let me say that again, in the name of public safety, they can ignore Constitution and they can grant themselves special authority. Now, this came up a few months ago that firearms represent a grievous public threat to health and safety. You know, places like Chicago are a terrific example. Places like New York are becoming that because of the defund the police movement. So Stephen Colbert, he says we should change the law. Well, how about this? Why don't you on the left just make up your own laws like you've done over things medical, and just say, hey, there's a state of emergency. There's a healthcare or a health crisis emergency with regard to firearms. Expect it, folks. If they can change any law, then they can make up any law about any other subject. Now I want to take you down to Australia, where people are being held down, folks. They're now being held down, literally controlled. Now, look out, right? Look out, they're coming. In Australia, they gave up their guns. How do you think they feel about that now, as they are being literally beaten and held down and forced to accept the Jim Jones juice? In many places, they're being fined, they're being told it is a must, and they have no way to resist. Torches and pitchforks, maybe that comes next. I'm not glamorizing any of this, right? I'm not promoting violence in any way, harmful or dangerous behavior. But what I am telling you is they are coming. Again, Stephen Colbert says, if Rittenhouse didn't break the law, we should change the law. Why? Well, he defended himself, we say, but they on the left will say that it is a health crisis. It is a safety crisis to have guns out there. And they would rather change the law for all 50 states than just any one particular state. So they would try and do this on a federal level, the national level. But understand, they can't. I mean, they can pass whatever they want, and then it's got to go through the court system. You know, and they keep losing in the court system over the Second Amendment. Fascinating, they keep losing. But I think that they need to understand, or maybe it is that the judges do understand, both in the federal courts as well as the Supreme Court. Maybe it is that they do understand that the people of the United States of America will not give up their Second Amendment right. They're not going to give up granddad's shotgun. They're certainly not going to give up their sporting toys. Because if you do, guess what we're going to get? You're going to get a taste of down under. Right? And it's not going to be pretty, folks, if that happens. And a lot of people are swearing. They're just waiting, folks. I attached on Patreon I attached on Patreon the one veteran who had some very harsh words for those who would try to enslave us, ensnare us, control us. Right? People are waiting. They're just waiting. They're waiting for that moment. I don't want it to come, but it's coming. But are you prepared for it to come? Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Godspeed to all. Semper Fi. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. You're going to need them very soon. See you then.